There he is, Steve Grumbine, everybody. Give him a round. Yeah. They're clapping for you, Steve. They're clapping for you. Oh, Adam, you can confirm that those CBD joints are good. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm glad that you really really liked them and that you received them. You received those joints because I was really afraid. Sorry, Steve. I'm Steve. But I'm really glad they made it to you because I just put one of those international stamps on there and just sent that shit on its way. Like I hope it makes it there. Jab Morris, thank you so much for that melodica. Steve Grumbine, thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it. Now, this is generally a music podcast.
We can talk some music.
Well, but you're also a metal fan, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm a big metal fan.
And we share some of that love for metal. I'm not sure how far into it that we can go into it, but I mean, I'm
pretty far.
I'm a big believer in Metallica, old Metallica before the Black Album. I'm a big believer in Megadeth. I'm a big believer in Pantera. I mean, I'll even throw Korn in there.
All right.
And I'm not gonna say Limp Bizkit. I was gonna say. Limp Bizkit, but let's see who else. 6 Feet Under, I was into for a little bit. Some of the Swedish metal stuff, the guys who are like eating each other, I was into that for a little bit. That black metal shit. So I'm a fan. I'm a fan. It's been a while. I've kind of grown, not out of it, but sort of past that. You know, what is going on? Why is that in your face? Okay, there we go. Anyways, yeah, so hi Rosie. Hey Rosie, who's Rosie? I don't know who Rosie is. Oh, Rosie. Hey, what's up, Roseanne? Roseanne, we're just calling you Roseanne. Listening and watching from Boulder City, Nevada. Thank you very much, Rosie. I appreciate it. New to this platform. Great. Hey, there's Charizard Carpenter. Hey, there he is, Steve. So I want to tell you about I wanted to tell you why I asked you on is because he's actually in chat right now, which is awesome. My brother-in-law, who's our political standings are a bit different, and and you know, but it's great because he's good to talk to and bounce ideas off of, especially because he doesn't think like I do. You know what I mean? Like I generally, I mean, obviously you talk to the people, you make your own echo chambers, but I generally try to, hey, lovely, thanks for stopping through. I generally try to reach outside of my bubble. So he's a great example of that. And he told me about your podcast, Macro and Cheese, which you guys should definitely go check out. It's a fucking awesome podcast. And it's not just about MMT. They talk about a variety of things, but I guess you know, because of this pandemic and because of all the shit that's been going on lately, I've been really getting into the economics of this country and how that works. And I've always been into politics and I've always been paying attention, but obviously because of, you know, circumstances, it's kind of I've really started to focus in on it. And so my brother-in-law told me about MMT and this theory, and I don't think he actually believes in it as well, you know, but he likes your podcast and he told me about it, and he likes your ideas, and he's not a closed-minded person, which is important as well when you're talking to people outside your bubble. Is like you're not talking to a closed-minded person. So it was cool that he sort of oh, Reina, I put the command it's !SG, and that will bring up his at what the hell is it, his thing, his website. Steve, so why don't we start like this? What in the fuck is MMT? How about we start like that?
All right. So, you know, that's a great question. You know, I used to be a Ron Paul guy, and you know, it was all about end the Fed and gold standard this and gold standard that, and you know, the first great financial crisis swept through, and I lost a 17-year career. Couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Thought I was going to lose my home, lost my family, just about lost everything that mattered to me. And I was like, what is going on? What the hell is this?
Wow.
And there were people in there that were dropping knowledge on me, and I wasn't fully up to it. I wasn't quite there, but I had an MBA, so I had a lot of training. So I was also full of shit too, if you know what I'm saying. And so as I'm listening to these people talk to me, little by little by little, shit's making sense to me. And really, what it is MMT is not something to believe in or not believe in. MMT is kind of like a lens. It's a description of the way federal finance works, or more importantly, at a larger level, it's a description of the way currency works in general. And since most countries operate from a fiat currency, that would be the UK, Russia, China, Japan, Australia, Canada, the United States, all these groups have a free floating fiat currency. And all the textbooks were written prior to the United States going off the gold standard. So almost everything you've learned in economics is based on gold standard thinking. So what MMT does, it says, okay, I hear what you're saying up till 1972, 1971, when Nixon took us off the Bretton Woods Accord. But what happened from that point forward, right? A lot of bad things, quite frankly. And so people draw wrong conclusions. But what it does is it describes that a sovereign, meaning that the country is its owner, free floating, meaning it's not pegged to any currency or anything like that, or pegged to a commodity or anything like that. Um, Fiat currency, meaning by decree, in other words, a government can create it at will. Um, Country can never go broke on debt denominated in its own currency. And that's kind of like the statement. And it describes the difference between currency issuers and currency users. And so, of course, in the United States, there's nothing we can't screw up. So you've got the libertarians that think that the Federal Reserve is owned by a bunch of, you know, cranky Jewish people, or the Rothschilds, this, that, and the other. A lot of anti-Semitic nonsense going on over there. Then you've got the group over here that doesn't really understand what it is. They think that everything's financed through private banks. They don't realize that the dollar is nothing more than a unit of measure, like an inch or a pound. You can't see it. You can't run out of inches and pounds,
Right.
and you can't run out of dollars. So what the United States government in particular does is it has a sovereign free floating fiat currency that's not convertible to gold, and therefore we can spend. But it's not just that we can spend. It's that we have been led to believe that the government borrows money from China, that we're broke and we have no money, we can't do anything, but somehow or another we always come up with money for war.
Yeah.
We can't figure out how we can do this stuff, but we always can finance tax cuts for the rich. We can never figure out how we can do anything. It's always, as soon as you say, well, let's give guys health care, it's like, well, what about hyperinflation? Oh my God, we're going to have hyperinflation.
Right.
And so there's always something there when they talk about spending on you and I that prevents that from happening. But it never happens at the top. And you got to ask yourself why. And these are questions that made me ask why? Why is this? Why do we have a global financial crisis? Why do we have all these things going on? Why are people poor? Why is this happening? And you start to realize, and this is the big aha moment, that all these things are political decisions. And it's always a question of why are they doing this? Why is this happening? And so modern monetary theory describes currency as it's like the plumbing, it's like the owner's manual of a fiat currency.
Mm.
You can add a bunch of rules, you can add a bunch of different things to it, but the reality is that fiat currency is just there. I mean, just it's an inch or a pound. Where do runs come in a baseball game? Where do touchdowns come in a football game? Those points, you don't run out of points, you don't run out of airline miles, and you don't run out of US dollars. So the United States government doesn't need to go borrow inches from China. They don't borrow US dollars from China. It's preposterous. It's stupid. But this is what you're fed to believe.
So what
And you
are
have
we
people,
borrowing then? What are we?
we're not borrowing anything.
Okay, so
What's
we're
happened
just
is
okay. Go ahead.
so what happens is that if you think about accounting, right?
Mm.
I don't know if you've ever taken a basic accounting class,
In
but you
high
have
school.
an asset, you have an assets and you have a liability side.
Uh,
You have a debits and you have a credit side, right?
okay.
Well, when the government spends, it's taking money and it's pushing it over to the other side, but it has no money. It never has money. It creates money every time Congress authorizes spending.
Mm.
So money is not, you don't just print money. It's always created when they're spending it into the economy on something. It's not like they just roll up a big fat stack of bills, Breaking Bad style, and say, "Hey, man, we got a bunch of bills in the back."
Yeah.
It's all fiat, and so it's all fingers, keystrokes into the Treasury's accounts, and it's spent to wherever they've been authorized to spend it to. But that money matriculates through the economy. The way we keep it from just continually growing and growing and growing is we tax some of that money out of the economy. And so if there's inflation or something like that, they may raise taxes to shrink the money, to take money out of the economy, to defer buying decisions for later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's all a treasury bond is really. They sell treasury bonds to defend interest rates and to maintain a certain level of unemployment. They intentionally keep people unemployed because they feel that they need to have so many unemployed people to stave off non-existent inflation.
Yeah.
So really what MMT does is it debunks almost every myth you've ever thought you knew about the economy. And you realize that the government, well, why do we sell treasury bonds? What is the national debt? What is a deficit? What are all these things? And a recent book by Stephanie Kelton came out just a couple months back called The Deficit Myth. And it really breaks down in great detail. It's an elevator read, though anybody could read it. But it breaks down in just the most easy to understand language what a deficit is, what the debt is, and really what the limits of spending are. So think about this. If I can create money at will, what would cause us to have issues? Well, if we don't have the real resources available for purchase in those US dollars, then it'll drive up scarcity and that could create some inflation based on a lack of available resources. So hypothetically, just look at Medicare for all or something like that. There's all this chaos, all this craziness inside the insurance industry today. Well, that all that chaos equals economic activity. And that's the way we measure GDP in this country is by economic activity. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, different. If a tornado wipes out Dallas all of a sudden and we rebuild Dallas, that's yay, GDP went up.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter that we're just rebuilding what we had before. That's considered, GDP increase. So if you think about it, something as simple as Medicare for all is eliminating a lot of chaos, eliminating a lot of all that nonsensical back and forth paper pushing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we could afford it without any problem. It is deflationary, though, because it drops some of that economic activity. But then you say, well, wait a minute, what if everybody has access to healthcare? Now all of a sudden it's going to make healthcare more scarce. Isn't that going to drive prices up? It doesn't matter because the US government would be paying those costs and you wouldn't even see it. We could make it free to everyone. Forget paying a premium even. We could make it free. But the point is that we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough gurneys, we don't have enough hospital beds, we don't have enough of the things, phlebotomists, whatever, to make it right. So there's another side to leisure, and that's do we have the real resources, being people, be it raw materials, be it finished output, be it services, whatever, to produce those things. And that's really what the spending limit is within an MMT lens. And to be honest with you, MMT isn't something to believe in or not believe in. It's just simply what it is. It just is. And so you could say that since 1971 to present is the only legally coherent description of the way the economy works
Mm.
in terms of macroeconomic perspectives. That's a lot of word salad. So what do you think, man? Am I crazy?
Well, I'm not sure. That's the whole thing. Well, no, because okay. So when first of all, I mean, why would we want to suppress this? Why if this is the
Good
case,
question.
why would we want to do that? Why would we make up lies about borrowing money from China and like why would we say that there's not enough money to fund these crumbling neighborhoods in southern Chicago or South Chicago or in Baltimore? Why can't we fix these things? Why would they suppress that if we could benefit greatly from this?
Well, so first of all, what you have is capture in our government. Our government has been largely captured by Wall Street interest, lots and lots of payola going through the system.
Mm.
But reality is that there's two ways to pull money into the economy, three ways really. Number one is the government spends it directly into the economy and people have money, people have services, whatever. That's number one. The second one is that people are in debt and they go to banks and borrow money so that they can pay for things.
Mm.
Now, in the borrowing scenario, banks make money.
Right.
In the government spending out, banks don't make money.
Okay.
That's spent from the government.
See.
And the other one is buying and selling, foreign goods and services through trade. Okay. So you have three sectors of the economy, which is public debt, private debt, and quote unquote rest of world. So we are a net importer to the tune of about $500 billion a year. If your net income is dropped $500 billion a year because your money is leaving the country, somehow or another that bathtub, if you will, has to be filled up with something. And what we've traditionally relied on, at least since the 70s, is banks to give us loans to fill that void.
Mm.
But when the federal government does it, people are whole. They're not desperate anymore. They don't need to take a shit job. They don't need to accept bad conditions. They can demand better because to get me off the pot, you got to pay me better to give me better benefits, give me a better life.
Mm.
So the business leaders who don't want that, who want to maintain control, because you got to go back slavery. Slavery didn't end, it changed, right?
Mm.
Black people are no longer bonded, but we all are to some extent because the US dollar is a tax credit. The tax credit is when the government spends it, you wouldn't use that piece of paper if there wasn't something tied to it. Why do you use that piece of paper? Because you can't pay your taxes in Bitcoin. Sorry, libertarians. You can't pay your taxes in gold. You can't pay it in sexual favors. You can't pay it in boogers or chicken necks or frog legs. You can only pay it in US dollars. And the reason for that goes way, way back. Think about Roman times, right? The emperor comes to, he's like, I want to build a road. I want to build an aqueduct. And there's a guy digging, you think of Monty Python. We're a communist, neo, whatever, communist community. We take turns being leader. Right? And the king's like, well, why don't you go ahead and build this road for me? He's like, nah, we're good. And he's like, well, I'll give you this coin. He's like, I'm good, man. I'm gonna go fish and I'm gonna go pick some potatoes and I'm gonna go shoot a deer in the woods. I'm good, man. And he's like, you got a good point, man. He goes, how about if I put a tax on your hut? How about if I put a tax on your land? It says, I'm going to take your house if you don't give me 10 of these coins back in payment. And the guy's like, oh, yeah. Hey, well, how do I get those coins? Funny you should ask that. I need an aqueduct built. I got a war I want to fight. I want to do this. I want to do that. So all of a sudden, the guy's like, what do I do for this money? Here you go. So now I can pay my taxes. But if the government is paying the money first before it taxes it, naturally, taxes can't possibly be funding spending, can it?
Mm.
Because they spent first, tax second. So this is the MMT story in a nutshell. And you start to realize that when they see Democrats run, we got to tax the rich. How are we going to ever afford these? Donald Trump's tax returns,
Oh.
as grotesque as that is, right?
Yeah.
As grotesque as it didn't cause one poor person to be without anything. The taxes are merely a matter of fairness, about income inequality, and about maintaining the buying power of the US dollar. So a lot of times you hear people talking about the petrodollar this and the world reserve currency that. Well, think about it. Japan can do this right now, and they're not any standing army, and they have no petro yen, and they don't have any of these things. But why can they do it? Why do they have almost 300% debt to GDP? Why are they, this little tiny island nation, able to run 300% of debt to GDP? We're not even anywhere close to that. And we got massive resources, huge amounts of resources. So why in the world wouldn't we be able to do it? And you look at Canada and Russia and China. China is a great example of a country that is spending out the wazoo, building up its infrastructure. And that's not to say they're a great country. It's just to say they figured it out.
Yeah.
And so as you look at our country, we have gotten rid of our manufacturing base. We have gotten rid of so many of the jobs that people used to do back in the golden days of World War II and stuff like that. And so we have a service-based economy now. And so if you aren't educated and you're not trained, all that leaves you to do anymore is very, very low level jobs. There's no more getting in the mailroom and working your way up to the the top suite. It doesn't work that way anymore. So the whole country's kind of still hasn't quite figured this out. The rich have. The rich have known it from day one. When they removed that peg, they knew right then what it did. And you can see almost like a hockey stick rise in income inequality from like 1976 on up.
Mm.
And it just really, really went like this under Reagan and under Obama and Clinton. It went like almost like a perpendicular line. It's ridiculous. They got tons of these great graphs out there to show this graphically. that was like stupid to say graphically, but anyway,
What
so
what
hopefully
what would that graphic be called?
the wealth gap, really, the income gap. You figure it this way: once you start getting people, I mean, you can look at the income gap from 1971 to present or something
Mm,
like that, and it's out there, it's all over the place. Um, but you realize that what had happened is that the wealthy realized that they could financialize our economy. We were no longer a production based economy, we're a financial based economy. And
mm,
what we could do is we could then in turn go ahead and push our manufacturing out of the country and let these big wigs start investing in fire sector type money. And so our entire economy is based on investment money instead of on actual produced goods and services. And it's a real shame. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. And that's you asked, the point was, why don't we do all these things?
mm,
And the reason we don't do all these things is because it doesn't serve the wealthy. And they want us to be available for them at whatever terms they present. And they want to be gods because when you have everything, what do you need? You need fealty. And so we're creating a neo feudal society by not understanding MMT, by not pushing back and resisting and fighting back, and really demanding and teaching people and helping one another understand this. You watch this continue to grow and grow and grow. And the only way to fix that, it's not just raising taxes on the rich, although that sounds good and feels sexy. It's also about providing things like a job guarantee. Now, all of a sudden, we're not going in debt over these things. What about paying for healthcare as a right? Now we're not being bankrupted out of our existence. We're not being plundered by debt collectors. And look at places like Puerto Rico and Detroit. They've been pilfered by these capital vultures that come in there and, well, yeah, we'll restructure your debt, but we're going to eat up all your assets. It's like the IMF and all these other groups do the same damn thing. So it's up to us as citizens and people that understand to each one teach one and get people to understand this. Right wing, left wing, center wing, no wing, we all have to understand this, because the only difference between the various sides really comes down to, what would you do if you understood that money was not an option? If you understood that we could pay for anything, what would that mean? What would that say about who you are? Would you want everyone to have a job? Would you want everyone to have health care? Would you want everyone to have free college education? Or would you want to keep putting 19-year-old kids with $60,000 of debt on their back walking out the door before they get laid the first time? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, these are the things, these are the questions that once you understand MMT, you begin to understand what we're up against. And it really is about the gap, the whole gap, and nothing but the gap between the highest earners and the lowest earners.
mm.
And when you realize this stuff, also, you realize foreigners aren't eating our lunch. They're not coming
Right.
into this country stealing from us. We can afford to pay for any one of them. It doesn't change anything. The question really comes down to, even with Social Security and all that stuff, do we have the real resources? Yes, we freaking do, out the wazoo. So we need to get this word out there. And I think that's really the net message of MMT. Inflation is our real constraint. Real resources are our real constraint. Cash is not our real constraint. Debt is nothing but the money supply. It's the net money supply. Debt, the national debt, is nothing more than the sum total of every untaxed dollar in existence in the economy. And that's it. You get rid of the debt, you eliminate the money in the economy. Do what it do. And so I want to talk about treasury bonds real quick.
Please,
Talk
please.
about borrowing money from China, right?
All right.
So what happens is China buys goods and services in the United States. Well, they get US dollars for those goods and services. They don't get Chinese yuan, they get freaking US dollars. So if the US dollars are coming in, what do the Chinese do with all the US dollars? Well, maybe they take some back for using it for other transactions, but otherwise they're sitting there with a bunch of US dollars when they use the yuan.
Mm,
So what they do is they park it at the Fed, they buy treasuries, get a nominal interest rate while it sits there facilitating their trade in the United States. That's it. It's not like we borrowed any money from them. They bought an interest bearing savings account for money they earned. We
Uh-huh.
didn't borrow that. We just said, hey, we want to delay some buying decisions you might do with US dollars. So we're selling these treasuries and we're paying 2% on them. You want them? Here they are. And they say, well, we got $10 trillion in US dollars. What are we going to do with these 10 trillion? Hey, let's make 12 trillion instead of 10 trillion. So they go ahead and invest it, and that's what they do. And it's money that we keystroke into existence. And so
Mm.
you wonder, why are people fapping over this? Why are they losing their mind over this national debt? And reality is it's bullshit. That's what it is. It's just a big pile of bullshit.
I got a question from chat right now. So, what do you do with this knowledge? Well, how could MMT use to program development? Who gets to decide what is equitable for everyone? So that's three questions in there.
Well, it's called a democracy, right? And so the idea here is that we, the people, should. And if you start with a job guarantee is federally funded, locally administered. So if you're showing up to your local town hall, now all of a sudden your local town hall, you're sitting there talking about what you want the job guarantee to compensate. And since the federal government is paying for it, the people in the local community are deciding what they want done. And that means that they can choose anything. They can choose, do I want to give kids a mentor? Do I want to do tutoring? Do I want to teach people how to play guitar? I mean, whatever you want to do, it's there for the community. Arts, we want to fund artists, we want to fund whatever. We can do all that. We want to help pay for moms, single moms, so they don't have to abandon their kids. Whatever we want, we have choices. We have real choices. But the reason why we say a job guarantee, like for example, versus a UBI, is because a job guarantee takes away the ability for the capitalist to quarantine those hours of those people's lives. Whereas now they're saying, nah, man, I don't need your job. You got to pay me better than the job guarantee or get the F out of here.
Mm.
Bounce. And so this is a real game changer. And this is why the UBI is not. But anyway, so the point is that democracy is going to tell us what to do. If we want democracy, most people don't pay attention. Most people aren't dialed in. So the people that are dialed in tend to be the ones that make the decisions.
Mm.
And that right there is why it oftentimes feels like you didn't have anything to do with it because maybe you weren't as involved.
Yeah.
And so I think a big part of what we do here is really enhance democracy, teach one, and start really trying to drive the knowledge into voters' minds so that when they hear a politician talking bullshit, they can say, you're lying.
Yeah.
You're flat. Don't give me that crap. Of course you can afford it. And I think that's the deal.
When I hear, well, I wanted to talk about austerity, but you mentioned UBI, and that's obviously a huge topic these days, considering we're forced out of work, and I'm a musician. I got forced out of my job. You know what I mean? Like I don't. There's nothing coming up the line. There's nothing, and I live in a smaller music market, so right now I can take gigs for 25% of what I was making before. Yeah. And so I'm, UBI at this point is looking okay, but tell me what because you were sort of saying UBI, you're kind of showing apprehension towards it. So I'm just curious, go into what you feel about UBI.
So U stands for universal, means everybody from Donald Trump down to me and you gets a UBI. Mm-hmm. It's silly. So the idea here is that it doesn't provide anything transformational because ultimately the capitalists still control the cost of goods. So if you end up needing $15 to pay for medicine, but you're only getting 10, what did that do for you? Nothing. Hmm. And so ultimately you keep going through this process and you realize, my kids are coming to the door. How hilarious.
All good, man.
Anyway, get out of here right now. Thank you. I love you so much. Get out, please, sweetie. Okay. What can I say, guys? This is what COVID-19 does to us.
This is what it did to us all. It's what it did to us all.
The idea
my son's going to come bursting in here talking about his penis. So, all right. Anyways.
Anyway, the UBI, it makes you a consumption unit, right? And you're now on the hook for whatever price changes go into it. With a job guarantee, they can't do that. It's a peg. It's like you're pegging the economy to labor, and they can't shift it around. It's a nominal price anchor that keeps prices in line. So I think it's really important that we understand what a UBI is. And a basic income during a COVID crisis like this would be a perfectly adequate, perfectly righteous response. We could have nationalized payroll during this time period and kept everyone home. Hey, look, we both got it, brother.
Of here. God damn it.
It seems like the way it is, man. Seems like the way it is. But anyway, the bottom line is that a basic income is something that sounds good, but what if we were to expand Social Security? Right now, you have survivor benefits, you have handicap benefits, you have all kinds of benefits go through Social Security. Why not raise that up? Why not get rid of FICA taxes altogether and call that your basic income? Now you have a basic income to meet certain things. But you remember when I talked about the job guarantee, I said we could fund musicians. I said we could fund the arts. I said we could do these things because the goal here is not to compete with the private sector, but to start reinvigorating the public purpose, to reinvigorate communities, and to start bringing about those things that we feel are necessary to fund. And I think this is a great enhancer. What about a woman that's trapped in a really bad marriage, has been getting beaten? Now she can pick up, go to Colorado, drink clean water, smoke some good weed, and be free of a beater in some other area. I mean, these are the
Amen.
kinds of mobilities that you want to try to bring about in society. And again, the basic income doesn't transform because once again, economic rents can go up and make that dollar not even matter.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the key things there to remember is that the job guarantee keeps prices where they need to be. The UBI, there's no price anchor. That thing can go right through the roof.
Mm.
So money, remember, real resources are the deal, right? And if you're not producing anything with the UBI, now all of a sudden you've got inflationary pressures, and that's when things start really going wrong.
Now, do you think with UBI that because there's an argument out there that people are saying that you give people just unlimited amounts of money and that they're not gonna do anything, they're not gonna be productive, they're just gonna sort of live off it, and it goes back to that old argument: if you give a suffering neighborhood money, they're just gonna what are they gonna do with it? They're just gonna piss it away, and it's still gonna
Right.
continue to be a crappy. What do you have to say in regards to people who would
You
say
re- you remember what I told you in the beginning. Is this going to expose what your value system is?
that?
Understanding the money, the way it works, will expose your values.
Mm,
And to me, I don't really care what other people do. What I care about is that we have less people dying from bad health, less people dying from starvation, less people dying because they're hooked on drugs and have no way out. I mean, legalize drugs, get them the fuck out of the jails. I mean, there's so much that we could be doing right now to enhance society. And when people have these views, a lot of times it's based on neoliberalism. It's based on this bad knowledge of the way the economy works that they think money is scarce, and it's scarce because they make it scarce. But what if it wasn't? What if we were able to get the things we need without worrying about whether, hey, I don't have enough money to get this hole in my tooth fixed.
yeah.
Hey, I've got this hole in my leg here. It's got, it's all pussy and yucky, but I don't have the money to go to the hospital to get it fixed. Hey, I got cancer. I guess I should just die. I mean, it's just the kind of stuff that I think your UBI friends, the people that don't like people having anything, they just don't understand. They're really bought into this work ethic that the Calvinists bought into all these different views of hard work. But hard work for who? The man?
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break, right? I mean, that's ridiculous. It's
Uh,
it's just ridiculous.
okay, so this is from chat from Charizard the Carpenter. One of the problems with a central run economy and UBI is that private industry helps to show what demand of supplies are for. Without seeing what demand is, there's lots of opportunity for lost production, overproduction, shortages. I'm not sure if maybe I was I think we might have dipped into someone else's conversation. I don't think they were talking to us.
No, that's
I thought that
okay.
was a question. Okay, I
I
think they're in a conversation with someone else in chat right now.
Yeah.
I read
Well,
that
we're
whole
not
fucking thing.
just to answer a little bit of that though. We're
Please.
we're not really talking about creating that kind of production. We're
Mm,
creating social value in our communities, right?
mm,
I mean, think about when you drive down the road, you see trash all over the road, you see graffiti everywhere, you see like just things run down and stuff. We can clean that up. We can create green, carbon neutral jobs. We
mm.
can do all kinds of we can create I love the idea of people that don't have an adult in their life or a good friend in their life to be able to provide a mentoring service, anything that the community feels is valuable, right? And so the idea of production, well, that's capitalism, right? That's a different story. We're talking about producing social value. Two
Mm.
different things. You don't go up to the store and say, I'd like to buy some social value, please. What do you have on sale? You know what I mean? This is about things that capital typically doesn't find interesting. Like, for example, cleaning up the environment is not profitable.
Mm.
actually healing people is not profitable.
Right.
Sick people, treating them is profitable,
Mm.
but curing things is not profitable.
Right.
But what if medicine was no longer a profit motive? Now you're talking about cures, not treatments. Now you're talking about solutions, not band-aids. And so I think that this is a real opportunity to kind of expand the way you view the world. So
And I guess I guess the argument to that would be, what motivates people to create drugs that cure diseases if there's no money motivating them to do the
But there would
research.
be money. The
Mm.
money just wouldn't be coming from you and me. The money
Mm.
would be coming from the federal government. Because remember, the federal government, I mean, think about it. Do you think the internet came from some wispy, cool capitalist? Hell no. The internet came from the military trying to figure out how to do things. And that's a government program. They handed it over to the public later. And then they privatized it like fools, right? I
Mm.
mean, there's so many things that start with a government and then they end up rolling it public, and then they give it to the capitalists to exploit.
Mm.
And so I think so much of this is a matter of us owning our power, owning again what the public purpose is, and really, really taking steps to change our society for better.
Yeah. So a question from the chat is, and that was actually where I was going. This sounds, I'm gonna say it, and I don't want no one to freak out, but it sounds a lot like socialism. What do you say?
Hey,
And I'm not shitting on socialism. I don't even have an opinion. Don't even think of it as an opinion at this point. But to those people who are running around socialism and like the whole thing, those
sure.
people, hardcore Republicans, or what do you have to say?
Communist, I don't
Communism,
care.
killing
You
feed,
call it whatever
the
you want,
killing
man, right?
fields of Cambodia is on its way. That's what I
So,
hear.
nah, the idea here is the difference of ownership for the people versus ownership by a single person.
Hmm.
Whether or not you're peeling away value from people whose labor, or whether you're giving, how that balances. And it's always a spectrum. We're on a spectrum now. We have things that would seem socialist, and we have things that are totally, ooh,
Hey. The federal government funds these because they don't need profit. Their mandate is to provide services. That is the government role. Hmm. Killing fields in Cambodia. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. And I'm glad you caught that terrible, horrible joke. It's not very funny. I'm not sure what happened to Steve, but until Steve comes back, we'll just sort of see what's going on. Who cares about title or labels? Care about people. Yeah, I feel that. But when you look at it in this, when you look at it from the perspective of I don't know, like what's really happening versus what should be happening, is like how many people are going to be, how many. Um, Hold on, I'm reading in the middle of trying to it's just like the idea of altruism, right? It's like it's a great idea in theory. Is it an idea in? Oh no, Steve, Steve Grumbine has left the meeting. All right, I'm gonna come back to you guys so I don't destroy the illusion of interviewing someone in space. Steve will be back in a second, everybody. We'll see what's going on with Steve. I'm gonna rejoin it, see if he can. We'll see if he jumps back in, or if we get an email from Steve. But you know what I mean? Yeah, it's casual in here. We're just chilling. But you guys know what I mean? Is like let me go back to what they're saying. Because someone said something about French unnecessary gigantic bureaucracy. Yeah, there is a lot of bureaucracy. Real people in society are the government. Congress needs to spend on what people need and deserve. Absolutely, I agree with that. Nice to talk with open minds. Yeah, I think so. I think that's the important part here is that what I try to breed in this channel is open discussion, because the worst thing that we can do at this point in our society is start shutting people down because we don't agree with them. If we want to find a way out of this mess that we're in right now, shutting down people, telling people to stop talking, telling people that they're not allowed to say their opinions, It's not how you move forward. It's how you create extremism. It's how you it's how you get people shooting people in the face that are wearing Trump hats or running people over, protesters over. It's just this is how we get here. It's just people don't feel heard. People are told to shut up. People are canceled. That's bullshit. I mean, now, do are there cases where people should be canceled? Fuck yes, because there are some people out there who should just be shut down because of what they say or do. But who makes those decisions, right? Is it me? I don't know. I guess it's us as a culture. There's just certain things like, I don't know. I'm not even trying to go horrible, but like, who's that Weinstein guy, that producer who was doing all those awful things to women? See, that person should be canceled and buried in some Russian gulag for the rest of his days, or I don't know, something worse. But I don't like capital punishment. I'm not really for it. Green New Deal. I'm not sure even what that means. I'm not sure what happened to Steve. We're gonna I'm gonna send him an email, see what happened. I hope he's okay. I'm gonna just say, hey man, let me know how you want to move forward. We're gonna give him some time here. Gulags. Yeah. We need to actually learn history, not the crud in history books in school. Gulags. Yeah. No, I agree with you there for sure. The what we have in school is crazy. It's nuts. Saucy Chicken Nugget, I see that you've redeemed a song. What song do you want to hear? I guess I'll play everybody a song while we figure out what Steve is up to. I sent the email. It's open, so if he jumps back in at any time, we'll just jump right back into it. What do you want to hear, Saucy? We'll play a song for you, buddy. They redeemed those points about 5 minutes ago, so we'll do that since we are. So we're waiting for Steve. We were so into that. I feel like we were just getting there. Like I have so many more questions for Steve. He has no idea. He's gonna be bombarded. Okay, I got you. I know what you want to hear, baby. I know what you like. Okay, here we go. Oh, here we go. This is what's so fun about doing stuff live as well, is that you just don't know what's gonna happen. Hey. So I'm gonna put a mute on Steve for now until we figure out where Steve went. If we lost Steve, then we'll just continue. We'll go back through chat and we'll just look up some of these things and we'll just talk about what's going on, because I really have no idea how this shit works. So I mean, I want to know. To deal with the existential threat of climate change. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm interrupting. We'll get there. Let's do this song real quick, and then we'll get back in the chat, and we'll figure out what happened to Steve. All right. This song is for Saucy Chicken Nugget. He redeemed his fresh bars, his channel points, his fresh bars. Here we go. I just want everybody to know, especially the new people who are here, I'm not a singer. I'm an instrumentalist. And I do this because I need to get over the fear of singing in front of people, and you'll find out why real quick. It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos. Out in the streets, tacos. All you can eat, lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, yum, yummity, yum. It's like a dream. Yum, yum, yummity, yum. More sour cream. Shells. Wait. It's raining tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh. Thank you, lovely. It's raining tacos. It's raining tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh, tacos. Ooh, it's raining tacos. Is that the only song I'm going to be singing? Is Raining Tacos? That's the only song you guys asked me to sing. Lovely. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. Lovely Lace. Everyone, I want everybody to meet our latest and greatest mod. Lovely Lace. Lovely is an amazing professional. I call Lovely a professional. Not that you're not, Reina. You are amazing. But Lovely is a professional, and I'll tell you why. It's because she. Let me turn this off. Because she. I'm still waiting for Steve. Everybody, I sent him an email. I got him open, so if he jumps back in, as soon as I hear him, we're gonna get back to Steve. But while I got your attention, Lovely Lays is also a moderator for a upcoming guest that goes by the name of Waking the Beast or Wake the Beast. My bad. Wake bottom slash the bottom slash beast. And here, let's just give him a shout out. He will be on the show Sunday at 11 a.m. PST and 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Now, Wake the Beast, if you agree with him or not, he has a way of talking that is just. I mean, imagine if Morgan Freeman had more. Imagine if more just the way he talks and commands the thing. Like, you know how Morgan Freeman is known for just having that commanding, very, awesome narrator voice. Well, he has that voice, and then he also has lots of opinions. And sometimes the chat is a little crazy, and Lovely Lace is there killing it. So all that was just for Lovely. I want you guys to know that Lovely is our newest mod here, and we appreciate her. And also Sunday, we will be talking to Wake the Beast, who will be sort of on this level. We're not going to talk about finances. I don't know really. But it's gonna be sort of like this level. He's not a musician. We're gonna be going outside the music realm this time. But I don't know how to even explain it. He's like social commentary. He like motivational speaker. Definitely shit talker. I love him, man. But he's great. Even if you don't agree with him, he sells the shit out of anything. What do they say? He would sell an ice cube to an Eskimo. I don't know. Is that racist? I don't know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't apologize. That means I did something wrong. Okay, let's get over here. Also, Valo Infinity, who is in chat right now. Let's get a shout out for Valo, please. Shout out. Valo is going to be on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Valo is a Canadian, and he is a fellow podcaster. He is an artist. He is a friend of the show and a friend of the show. And so it's going to be great. I love talking to other podcasters like Steve. Steve is so great. I love talking to other podcasters because it's like they're professional talkers. So it's really nice to have someone who's just like, yes, I know how to carry a conversation beyond the simple thoughts that go racing through your mind when you're sitting here sweating in front of the camera and lights. So let's see here. Let's go back. Let's go back and see what I missed, because I know that song was. Someone said something about the Green New Deal. What do you guys know about the Green New Deal? Yeah, I know. Where did I find Steve? I found Steve through my brother-in-law, who is actually in chat, and I won't out him, but he is a Republican. I don't know if you'd say he's a classic Republican, but I'm pretty sure he identifies as Republican. He's a Trump supporter. I am not a Trump supporter, so as you can imagine, we've had some interesting conversations around the dinner table, which we do have dinner with each other quite often. But I love him, and he's great. And he gives me the opposites of what I'm thinking, so that helps me have a better idea of what's going on. But my brother-in-law, he told me about his podcast Macro and Cheese. And so I listened to because I was talking about finance and I was talking shit. I didn't know anything about finance. And I'm talking to him and he has his like, he has a degree in political science. So he has a little bit more knowledge about how the system works than I do. So, I'm sitting there just spouting off dumb shit, and he's just like, "Well, actually, it's this, and maybe you should listen to this guy. Maybe you would like him because blah 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 blah." And so that's how I heard about him. And then so one day I woke up. I literally woke up. The first thought my mind was like, I should just ask Steve if he'll come on the podcast. And so that's what I did. I asked Steve if he would come on the podcast, and now he has left us, and we don't know what became of Steve, but we wish him well and we hope he's doing okay. Yeah, so that is the Green New Deal is a remake of FDR's New Deal. This time, national investment in sustainable way. Okay, so I kind of got that just from the name, which is a smart way to do it, right? Like the Green New Deal sounds like what you just said, but like the Patriot Act now that's that's something totally different. I like that the Green New Deal actually sounds like something positive, and it is something positive, and not just you know just invading our privacy and taking away our rights and all that stuff. FDR's New Deal created the middle class after the recession. Yeah, that was after the 1929 stock market thing. That's how they sort of got out of the it was that in World War II, right? World War II, and the New Deal sort of lifted us out of abject poverty, right? Um, Let me see. Trump gets MMT. He just uses it to benefit himself and his billionaire friends, not the public. Yeah, I think that's what Charzar the Carpenter was bringing up a little earlier, was that who regulates this? How do you regulate it, and how do you monitor it without it being abused, and who's making these calls? And as Steve is saying, it's a democracy, but sometimes I question that. Federally funded, locally administered. Yeah, that makes sense. So I mean, like, what I understand of like taxes is that, so federal taxes, if MMT, if I understand correctly, really doesn't do a whole lot, but the local taxes are what really carries the stuff that affect you and me personally. And so we'd want to dump more money into local services to create jobs and create sustainable ways of having an economy, instead of destroying our earth and stuff. See, I'm just so down. I miss you, Steve. Where'd you go? I need you. I'm out here naked. War bonds are created to get people to save and prevent economy from overheating, not to fund the war. That's interesting. See, I don't know these professional talkers. I'm still practicing being a fluent conversationalist. That's okay, Valo. That's okay. The thing is that you're trying. You're trying to do it, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, you got to keep doing it if you want to get better at it. Even with a degree, there's no guarantee you actually know what's going on. Yeah, I agree with that. I hope I'm not just stepping in the middle of a conversation you're having. Yeah, I feel that. Just because you have degrees, I know plenty of people with degrees who, well, either are jobless, or even before the pandemic, who didn't have a job, couldn't find a job in their field, and even or on the other side, it's like, I know people with high degrees who are dipshits, who are just like complete idiots, and like, they're very smart in their specified field, but like, when it came to anything else, just terrible at life, terrible at decision making, terrible with what they put in their body, who they put in their body. who they put their body in other people's bodies. It's just, just like poor decision making, just bad rationalizations, bad rationalization. We speak English good. Bad rationalizing skills. And I'm not saying I'm any better. And I don't even have a degree, but I'm just saying there's some idiots out there with degrees. I agree with that. There is math backing all this up. Decades of research. See, that's why I had Steve. Why, Steve? Why did you leave us? Um, Warren Molzer offered to give anyone money to disprove MMT. How much was it? Is that like a? Can I Google it? I don't know how much it was. I don't even know who any of those people are, but we can look it up. I mean, I got a computer right here. Mosler, Steve, R.I.P. Steve's connection. I know. Stephanie Kelton tried herself to disprove. I think it was $1 million. Let's see. Disprove. Well, we were just getting into austerity, and I wanted to talk about Larry Summers and how he doesn't think, he called it garbage. There was so much I wanted to get into. See, I wanted to get into the presidential debates. I wanted to get into how the future, how he sees the future, how we can get out of this by using MMT. I want to see, or the financial crisis we're in right now. I wanted to talk about the financial crisis. I wanted to talk about so much. Okay, so it's his kids, probably, and that's okay. He told me he's like he had his kids at home, and it was tough for him to do this. So even if we don't see him again for the rest of the day, he still gave us some gold, and I still don't know what the hell MMT is, but I'm closer. Now her best-selling book is written to advance it. Invite him back. Oh, also watch The Con. I will. The Con. I will invite him back. I don't know if he's gone forever or not, but we'll hang in there for a little while there until something happens. Well, until you guys get sick of looking at me talking in the chat. Here's the thing: is like you could put all this information in here, and I'll be like, I don't know. Oh, okay. Now her best-selling book is written to advance MMT. So, Stephanie Kelton's book is. I'll have to get into that. I really do want to look that up. He offered how much money? Too bad I can't come on now. What, Jab? I mean, if you know about this stuff, you can come on. We can get you in here. Do you have Discord? Or we could get you on the phone. If you have Discord, we could just patch you right in right now. If anybody wants to jump in the Discord as well, I keep up to date on all the guests coming up, and I put stuff in there. I'm still trying to figure out how to use. You can listen to it on Audible. Yeah, I'll definitely. I'm more of a listener these days. It's interesting because at the beginning of this pandemic, I thought that I would have more time to do everything, and really, I just filled up time. So, like, I really thought that maybe I would read a book, sit there and read it, and not do anything else while doing it, just sitting there while things go unattended, while children go untaught, while dinner goes uncooked. I'm just going to go sit here and read a book. Sorry, honey, you're on your own. I'm reading Stephanie's new book. No. Don't worry. You can take the trash out yourself. That's your job now. I'm reading a book. So, yeah, I haven't read a book. I have been listening to a book, though. And I definitely will listen to that on Audible. Jeb, oh, yeah, you're driving right now. Okay, no worries. I don't want you dying because you've got to come on. But If you want to call in, shit, I would. You. It seems like that you guys know more about this than I do, so maybe you guys could teach me. Are you going in Discord battle or? Let's do this again. Yeah, I'm down. I'm down to do it again. I just, whenever Steve can do it. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find how much money he was offering to disprove it. I actually wanted to look like Green New Deal explained. This is how I live my life now. I bought Jim Carrey's book and thought, yeah, I'll read. Right. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Green New Deal. What is the Green New Deal? What is it?
This is a group of the world's best.
No, that's not what it is. Here, let's do this. Until I hear back from Steve, I'm gonna stay on. Well, I mean, if we don't hear back from Steve here shortly, we'll call it a day. But let's watch a video, and I'll do a little bit of live loops, play some music for you guys, and then if Steve hasn't come back, we'll call it a day. But I definitely don't want to give up on you guys yet. So, and I appreciate everyone sticking around, even though that Steve is lost in the ether here, in the internet ether. It's so crazy what the world has become and how we communicate now. It's like, it's so nuts. The thing is that I've been doing the podcast on Skype and video chat for a while now, but I have not been able to. Wait, I don't know where that sentence was going. I was trying to do two things at once, and then I just forgot what I was saying. So, yeah, there you go, folks. I'm good like that. I'm just great like that. All right, let me get this video capture in so you guys can see me. I'll be up in the corner. Let's watch this video on what the hell the Green New Deal is. This is by Vox. You're in the Discord. Jab Morris is in the Discord. Are you ready? You want to come on? You want to do this? Let me get out of there. We're gonna keep Steve available. So Jab, I want you to know, if you want to come on, you could totally come on. You can do just the audio. I don't want you doing any crazy stuff while you're driving. But I'm going into the Discord right now. If you're interested, we can do the audio and wait. Open Discord. Do what I tell you, computer. You do what I tell you to do. And then Jab, I don't know what your I don't know what your I don't know what your education level is on this whole subject, but you seem to be very knowledgeable. And I'll just say that you are. Come on. Jab. There he is. I see you, buddy. All right. Let me get you. You can, you know what? Jump in the general voice chat. And if you, I don't know if we can do the. If you want to jump in there, I think you can just jump in there. I think. Yeah, if you want to just jump in there, I think the audio is going right now. So let me know if you're in there. I'm a notch below Steve. Nice. Okay, cool. Then I'm ready for your opinion. Okay, so we're gonna see what's up with Jab. If we can figure. Oh wait, we can figure out how this works. I think. Yeah, I think you can just jump in there and just go. Is that right, Reina? Do people just jump in the voice thing and they can just go? All right. Well, while Jab does that, let's watch this video a little bit and see
what's happening to our warming planet. In 2018, they had some news.
it's very clear that half a degree matters.
This is a chart of how much the global temperature has gone up since we discovered fossil fuels. For a long time, scientists said that we should try to stay under this line, 1.5 degrees Celsius. But that really, we'd be okay if we ended up below this line, 2 degrees. Now they were saying that wasn't quite right, that we're not safe in this zone, and that hitting this line will mean a spike in mass migration, wildfires, deadly heat stress, and it's going to cost us
trillions of dollars, millions of lives, irreversible, forever changes that cannot be undone in centuries.
That's what happens if we get warming to stop here. And right now, we're on track to go way past that.
If action is not taken, it will take the planet into an unprecedented climate future if we compare it to what has happened during all of human evolutionary history.
Now, I'm not sure how
We don't have a plan for this. So a group of American activists started to make one. They recruited a congresswoman and a senator to turn it into a congressional resolution. It's the first step of a plan that has mostly yet to be written. It's called the Green New Deal. And inside, there's something we might not want to hear. This is the Green New Deal resolution. It's only 14 pages.
I see that you're trying
And to understand what's in it, it's important to understand what's
I see
not.
that you're saying
It is
stuff,
not
I just don't...
a bill.
Hold on, let me
It's not legislation.
pause that for a second. How is this? I see you're trying to talk. I see it. I see it. So why can't I hear him? No, I can hear. No, it's up. I've been hearing a lot about AOC with the Green New Deal and Sanders and them. Why can't we get Jab up in here? No. Yeah, I see that you're trying to talk, Jab. AOC in the squad. I wonder what the heck. Yeah, I know you can hear him, but why cannot I? Yeah, hold on. I'll put it on the BRB screen. All right, Jeb. My wife is gonna come in and help me get you out here. So it's on the BRB, Reina. If you want to come in here. All right, guys. I'll be right back.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2
On
3.
the village green.
You can hear me now?
When I was 17.
Yay!
Oh. All right, guys. We got Jab on here. We're going to continue our conversation with Jab. And, oh. No, you're not on yet.
Oh, you still don't have me in?
No, I have you in. You're good. You're live right now, buddy.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kicking everybody. I'm kicking everybody out of the studio. All right, man. You're
Hey, I'll
on.
just give you a little background. I'm
Please.
actually the co-editor in chief of Real Progressives, and I'm the second longest tenured member besides Steve himself.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great, great. Well, thank you so much for filling us in. What's your background? What's your work in?
I work in healthcare.
Okay.
Been
Oh,
working in healthcare since 2010.
right on, right on. So, I forgot what we were even talking about with Steve when he got, I don't know, disconnected. Um,
Um,
I don't
I
remember
have to
what he
look
would.
into the chat.
I'm not sure
Let me see
what.
if I can look into.
Hey, it's all good. We can just pick up from wherever. But now with MMT and with the oppositions, like people at the Fed, what do you have to say to people who like Larry Summers who are saying that MMT is not, this is someone who is at the Fed. This is someone who is in charge of printing the money. This is someone who, we should be able to trust, right? Why do you think that people like Larry Summers are talking are saying that MMT is garbage if it can do so much good?
Well, it's very simple. There's a quote somebody had that said, if somebody relies on money and it requires them to not tell the truth, they're not going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
So the powers that be don't often want people to tell the truth. But there's actually video of Alan Greenspan and a couple other Fed chairmen before him actually telling the truth that, United States can't go broke. It's just the truth. How you gonna go broke in something that you create? It makes no sense.
Well, okay, then so how do you explain inflation? How they always say like austerity. Let's talk about austerity. Are you familiar with it? I'm not. So I mean,
I'm very familiar with austerity.
let's talk about
I'm a
austerity.
black guy. Of course, I'm familiar with austerity.
Let's talk about austerity and let's talk about. Well, first of all, could you just explain what it means? Because I have a very vague understanding of it.
Okay, austerity programs are just basically saying that we need to spend less and less into the social area of the economy. Basically, it technically means just cutting down on everything. That's what it really means. But the way they administer it, it means cut the social programs out. Because you never hear about austerity for the military. You never hear about austerity for tax cuts. But when it comes to austerity for social programs, for poor people, social programs for even veterans, social programs to help the environment, then there's austerity.
I see. I see. So basically, austerity it's basically defunding programs, is what Christen says. Is that a proper way of defining it?
Pretty much.
Okay. So then, and what they're saying is that there's not enough money to fund specific programs because there's just not enough money in the deficit or in the budget, and our deficit is too high, and that's what it means basically. It's just a way of cutting programs because it's just an
Yep.
excuse to cut programs because there's no money. I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah, no money, exactly. I like that. Yeah, because that's what it is, air quotes. Because whenever it's time to bomb another country, you never hear, "Oh, we don't have enough money to bomb Iran. Oh, we don't have enough money to bomb Afghanistan. Oh, we don't have enough money to bomb Yemen."
Yeah.
But nope, you don't ever hear that, do you?
No, you
They
don't.
don't even tell you that we don't even have the resources to do it. They always find the resources to do what they want to do.
Yeah, and
They don't want to fund social programs.
right, exactly. And I think
Please.
that was super highlighted by this whole pandemic and how it was sort of where they're like all of a sudden we had all this money to pay people out, give people their $1,200 and to do the pay up and so what I guess what I'm saying is that it's kind of bullshit that it's kind of a bullshit idea that there's no money, especially when we just got done seeing that there is money, that this is possible, that we can fund people and keep people from slipping into abject poverty or letting neighborhoods dwindle into crumbles. It's I don't know if that's a statement or a question, but it's
It happens because they want it to happen, and the American public has been fed lies for so long that we don't know our heads from our tails anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
They basically look. Hey, I put like this here. We spend a lot of time watching TV, right? And there's a reason why they call the things you see on TV programming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally, man. TV has so much influence. Hate the Human Race is in chat right now. He's saying that he's talking about inflation would go nuts if we were just printing all the money. But why isn't inflation going nuts now when we just printed all this money to give to corporations, to give, to people? It's like, why isn't inflation going nuts right now?
Well, it's pretty simple. This is not simple, but this is a little more complex ideal. It's an ideal called stocks and flows, right? Flows is basically when money is moving, right? Stocks, I don't mean like stocks at Wall Street. I mean, stocks is where money stops it and it stays out of the economy. When you give money, when you do a tax cut for a rich person, right? They don't spend that money. They save it, they throw it overseas, they put it here. It never really touches the real economy. But when you give money to a poor person, they're going to spend it almost immediately because they need to spend it, because otherwise it's the difference between them starving or losing their house or losing their car. So as long as money is moving and it's not causing too many goods, it's sort of simplistic way of saying it. Too many dollars chasing too many goods is a simple definition of inflation. But when you look at it on a more complex level, inflation, it also means that there actually has to be money moving in that direction of going towards those goods. So, like I said, you cut taxes on the rich, they keep more money, but they never spend it. It's never going to fit inflation. Right now, we got a pandemic. Our unemployment rate went through the roof. People needed money right now. That money was just to keep things in maintenance, and it wasn't even enough to keep things maintained. But that's why they pumped all that money into the economy, and it caused no inflation because the money was needed.
Yeah. So what I don't know if this is a correct assessment, but what MMT is kind of pointing out to me is that, or it can kind of point out that maybe that the problems that we're having right now, just maybe, and this is just a rough idea, but maybe that the problems that we have right now might not be completely about race or ideology, but more about money and who has it and who does not. Would you agree with that, or do you think that racism is out of control in this country and I mean, do you agree with that concept, I guess? Do you agree that it's more of a money thing of the have and have nots, or do you think it's more of the racist, the mainstream idea right now that America is this it has racism ingrained, baked into it in its foundations, which, I mean, it does, but you know what I'm saying, where it's at now, like with the Black Lives Movement.
Well, I'm going to put it to you this way. Both ideals are 1,000% correct. Yes, class is totally baked into this country's identity. Racism is totally baked into this country's identity. Unfortunately, here's the catch. Racism does have something to do with classism. And there was an article that somebody wrote 4 years ago. I think her name is Jonah Evan. It's called Why Poor Whites Chant Trump, 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 right? And then when it talked about how even back in the days, they basically put poor white people up to hating the poor black people, because then the poor black people and the poor white people couldn't get together and overthrow the rich white people. It's probably the same reason why I believe Martin Luther King got assassinated. As long as his message was just to black people, they would tolerate him. But once he started the poor people's campaign and was getting together everybody, all the sanitation workers in Memphis to get together in order to make change, that's when they got him assassinated. Racism and classism aren't separate issues. They're meld together. And a lot of it is just like a classical thing of divide and conquer. It's a lot easier to conquer people once you got them fighting against each other. They'll never understand or pay attention to the person above them who's really pulling the strings.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned MLK. I mean, MLK, I think, even said something about that this is going to become more about socioeconomics than even race. Maybe I'm misquoting, but I'm not even quoting, but maybe I'm not getting that right. I mean, do you agree with that sentiment?
Well, actually, Martin Luther King started to understand that it wasn't just about race. It was a lot about class. It's a lot about understanding power structures. And in today's United States, the power structure, is the rich people, and then after them, the CEOs, and then the managers who work under the CEOs, and like that. And basically, they use that knowledge of the different strata in American economy in order to divide all the strata against each other, while the super rich, the people that truly have all the money, like the Jeff Bezoses and the Walton families and stuff, they get to keep doing what they're doing without anybody actually trying to come down on them hard.
Well, when you talk about these big companies like Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and such,
Okay, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Hold on.
Sure.
Light Space Personal Services, Bryce.
I'm gonna mute him. I'm gonna mute him for a second so he doesn't have to have his business out on public. No.
I didn't call you.
Hold on. I'm just letting him get off his call. I don't want him to put all his stuff out there. Eat the rich. End of this year focused on e-commerce. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, RDev. Appreciate it. All right. Are you there, Jeb?
Okay, I'm done.
Oh, you're back. Cool.
Yeah.
I just muted you so you had a little privacy there.
Yeah, I'm thankful. Yeah, it was my I'm on call on this particular weekend, so
yeah, no worries,
man. Schedule issues, I have to take care of them.
Well, hey man, you didn't even know. Hey, thank you, Kristen, for following, man. Well, you didn't know you were gonna jump on a podcast today, So no worries, man. No worries. What I was getting at is because I've been sort of going on these sort of rants since the beginning of the pandemic and saying, and keep it with MMT in mind. And just tell me, I guess I want to just know if I'm even on the right track. These big corporations, it's in their best interest to kind of keep everyone sort of fighting. And so you see Amazon putting up a lot of Black Lives Matter type stuff, which is great. I love the fact that culturally that there's more brown on the screen, that we're seeing it more. But what I'm saying is that they're picking sides, making things political. Whereas it keeps people sort of busy fighting amongst themselves, and it kind of distracts people away from all the taxes that they don't pay. Now, with MMT in mind, does that matter? Does it matter that companies are able to have offshore accounts and have able to work this? Like we just found out Donald Trump paid $700 for. In 2018, does it matter?
16 and 17.
I'm sorry, I'm getting it wrong, but
MMT, if you're offshoring money and you're taking it out of the United States economy, you're doing just that. That's money that's not moving. It's put in the stock. It's not moving into the regular economy.
Right.
It's not flowing around, helping out other people.
Right.
So. And that just goes back to what I was telling you earlier, that when you give money to rich people or rich corporations, they offshore it, they put in bank accounts or whatever, it's money that's not moving. It does nothing. It's not going to cause... See, this is what MMT says. MMT tells you that whatever program that you need to do, you can do it as long as you have the real resources to do the program.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter about the money. You don't need to tax the rich to get money to do a program. You tax the rich to remove the ability to buy politicians. You tax the rich to remove the ability to have too much of their quote-unquote free speech, like advertisements and other things that they do in order to influence us. You don't tax the rich to get programs at the federal level. State levels different. Federal levels, no.
So then with MMT in mind, it wouldn't matter if these big corporations were moving money out of the country, not putting it back in, because we can fund it. We can fund any program we want because the government could just make that money and make that happen.
It's not even making money. It's basically keystrokes.
Yeah.
You don't have to actually spend any. You don't have to actually print up any extra dollars. You just hit click, 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 and it's in your account. It's just like, I'll give you a good example of this here. Think about, you ever have anybody cash out money to you?
Yes.
Before?
Yes.
Okay. Did they have to print dollars and go put them in the mail and stick and wait 2 or 3 days for it to get to you? No. They made a couple of keystrokes on their phone or their computer, and it went into your account.
Right.
That's the same thing that happens at the Fed. Click, 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 and the money gets there.
Right. Well, so then
I'm gonna tell you something even more interesting.
Please.
I'm gonna tell you something even more radical and more interesting. You know how they talk about how we so much in debt, right?
Yes.
We got $23 trillion of federal debt. All right, so here's something even more radical. They can eliminate that today if they wanted to.
Just click it away.
Because the debt is denominated into treasury bonds and other treasury securities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can consider those treasury securities like savings accounts at the Feds. All right. So a lot of the big banks, right? They have demand accounts at the Fed. You can consider those demand accounts as checking accounts, right?
Okay.
So they could immediately, if they wanted to, they could keystroke all the money out of those quote unquote savings accounts into their quote unquote checking accounts, and there would be no national debt, just like that.
Wow. Well, I mean that's pretty amazing if we would just do that. We have a question from.
But why they don't want to do that? Because then it'll let you know that everything they've been doing to us is a total fraud, a total sham, and it's just been doing it to control us. That's why they won't do anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy to think about it. If this is true, if this is all what we can do, if this is how it is, then it is nuts that we are still fighting the same battles that we've been doing. We had a question from the chat here. I'm curious as to how our non-Republican watchers, commentators feel about this info. Has it been informative at all? Oh, sorry, that wasn't for you. I think that was for chat. I think it's informative personally. I think that I've been looking into this a lot, and it's incredible. It's incredible. If this is something that is really truly that we're able to do, then it's despicable.
It really is, actually. If you look at just the history of this country and what we've done, it is despicable completely.
Yeah. Where do you think that this is all going with the economy the way it is now? And first of all, I don't know how much, let's just start with this. Right now, our stock market is doing great, right? Like, and our president keeps talking about how great our economy is and how we're on an upswing, how it's all coming back. It's going to be better than even before. But yet we have, these small businesses are going out of business, 1 in 6 or something. I heard, or I think Joe Biden said 1 in 6, which I think is a low number. I think it's more like 40%. 40% of small businesses are going away. People are unemployed, and that number keeps going up. And how is it that we have a great economy right now, but yet we have such disparity? Jab? Oh no. What happened to Jab? We're just not having the good luck today. Hey Jab, are you there, bud? Oh man. Yeah, the stock market isn't the real economy. Oh, hey Jab. Yeah, I don't know. He's here. I don't know what happened, buddy. I don't hear you anymore. Yeah, well, that's yeah, I think so too. It's a bad indicator. I guess that's where I was going with it. I'm just curious on what Jab or anybody who pays attention to this stuff. No one else is here yet. Oh, there he is. He's back. Jab, how you doing, man? You here?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I had to exit out the call and come back in. Maybe that's was it.
Oh, no worries, man.
What was your question?
My question is with all with the president touting, we have the greatest economy, it's coming back, our V-shaped economy, it's coming back, the stock market's doing great, but yet we have all this disparity, we have job unemployment is up, is crazy, we have small businesses closing, people they're already like I told Steve at the beginning of this, I can go work right now for 25% of what I was making before. So with all of this going on in our stock market raging, how is it possible that we have such a great economy, and I'm putting air quotes up again, you can't see it, but there they are. How is it possible that we...
I understand the great... It's because, like you said, the stock market isn't real money. Stock market is legalized gambling. It has nothing to do with the real economy. Come on, I'm gonna walk you through it. Let's use a little common sense here.
Let's do it.
Let's say you make the We Speak English the company, right?
Okay.
And you sell. Okay, I'm gonna sell $50,000 in stocks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that I can fund me a studio for your We Speak English Good studio, right?
Right.
So you get the $50,000 and you issue $50,000 of stock, right?
Okay.
Those people have ownership of $50,000 worth in your economy, in your business, right?
Right.
All right. So that was a real investment to you, right?
Right.
Because they actually invested in you.
Right.
Now, when they start reselling it, it's no longer investment. Now it's a speculation.
Okay.
Because the next person who takes a certificate, they didn't put the real money in; they just sold it. So it's just going back and forth like that.
Okay.
So it's just like I always used to call stocks overpriced trading cards.
Are you in the stock market? Do you trade?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Have you ever?
Only thing I've had in the stock market is any money I've ever had a 403B. That's about it.
Gotcha. So you wouldn't play the stock market or play?
No. In fact, because I know better, because I know the stock market is just gambling.
Right.
And a lot of people make money from it, and you make good money from it, but it's just understanding what it truly is. It isn't truly investing; it's gambling.
So then,
don't let anybody lie to you like that.
So then, why is it doing so well right now? Why is
it's doing well?
Why is our economy, or why is our stock market doing well right now?
Because the things you have to understand, as sad as this sounds, when poor people lose their homes, who gets to buy those homes up?
The banks.
Yeah. Exactly. So the fact that it's more and more likely that people are going to lose their homes and banks going to be able to buy them for little or nothing, that's a boom to the stock market, because that means the company's got a chance to make more profit. The stock market is based on either whether people for to make good profit or have a chance to make good profits.
But hold on, we're not there yet, though.
It's not based on reality.
But we're not there yet, though. We're not. I mean, people are losing their homes right now, but we're not there yet to that point.
Trust me. If they take off for these moratoriums,
right,
we're there.
Oh yeah, no, totally. But what you're saying is that the reason why the stock market is doing well is because banks are buying up homes from people losing them.
No, I'm saying they are. But I'm just saying what's going on with them has no direction what's going on in the real world. The real world, we still got people out here starving, people wondering if they're going to be able to pay the rent when the rent comes back on. This is the real world. In their world, they're fine, because you know how we got the little $1,200 stimulus, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you got it, right? They got a whole lot more of that in different loans and grants and stuff. We talking about maybe, I don't even know how much per capita. I actually have to go research how much money per capita or per employee, basically, any of these big corporations got in that first stimulus package. I guarantee it's more than $1,200 per.
Yeah, no, yeah, totally. I mean, that $1,200 wasn't what was like that for people who live in real cities. That $1,200 probably didn't even cover their rent. You know, I mean,
Nope.
it wasn't anything much to it. Well, it's just so flabbergasting on how there's so many people touting that we're doing fine, and they keep pointing to it. Like, why do people keep pointing to the stock market if it's not an actual representation of how people are living?
Because it's the easiest thing to do, and that we've been programmed to. We've been programmed to the stock market's going up. That means the economy is great. Even if your car's getting repossessed, the economy looks great. Because like I said, it has no bearing on what happens with real people like you and me, real people like Steve, real people like Roseanne, real people like any people in this chat. These are real people. The stock market doesn't affect us.
Right.
The real world affects us. The real world says that there's not enough jobs, and then the jobs that are here don't pay enough, and that the rent is too high, and that we live in paycheck to paycheck, and that if anything else happens in this economy, we're going to either be homeless, carless, or be so much into despair that we're going to actually wonder if we should commit suicide and end it all.
Which is happening. Which, I mean, is already happening. Drug abuse,
exactly.
Suicide, domestic abuse. It's all up. It's
exactly.
And it's all interchanged. It's all intertwined with, not having money, not being unsure. With all this uncertainty, where do you think the economy is headed? Personally, if it's doing so well right now and it's on its way back up, do you see it just getting back to normal, as they're saying that it's going to be?
From how I see things and the way everything's flowing and everything, unless they make some humongous stimulus bill to deal with the moratorium on rent, on evictions and stuff like that, this economy is going to go kerplunk. If they take those moratoriums out without a stimulus.
Yeah.
It's going to be the 2008 crisis times 3. I'm just going to let you know that right now. Because everybody that's in a home who haven't been able to pay their mortgage, and then all of a sudden they're going to have 8 mortgage payments coming up right then with no help, the economy is going to go down because there's going to be so many homes that are going to hit the banks that it's really going to affect the bank's bottom line. And then next day you come in, they're gonna say, the bank's too big to fail, and give them a bunch of money while they still take the homes from the people and won't keep people at home. So that's what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen is there's gonna be a big hit. They're gonna pass a bill not to keep people in homes, but to keep the banks afloat. And then somebody else is gonna end up owning them homes and make a humongous profit on it. That's not a guess, because that's exactly what happened in 2008 and 2009. It's just history repeating itself.
And I gotta say, I'm gonna be one of those assholes who are gonna buy one of those houses that off the backs of that crying family. Which I'm not to say I'm not proud of that, by the way. But the way it sounds is that if I just hold off, because I'm looking to buy a house, if maybe I just hold off until March, April or something, that maybe I can get a good deal. I don't know. Which sounds awful, guys, but it's horribly true. It's just what. So do you think that? So you think that if they don't do something about, if they don't give another stimulus, if they don't do anything about it, you think this is where it's headed? We're gonna hit.
Yeah, it's going to go kerplunk. There's no other place for it to go. It was just like during the subprime lending crisis.
But why do they keep saying that's going to keep growing then? But why would they keep telling us that it's going to keep growing and growing?
Because that's what they want us to believe. You have to remember, TV is a method of control. The stuff they say on MSNBC, the stuff they say on CNBC, the stuff they say on Fox News, the stuff they say on Fox Business, stuff they say on CNN, stuff they say on Bloomberg, is all stuff to keep us under their thumb. They're going to tell us what they want us to hear, not the truth.
Yeah. I was hearing, I heard something about the banks right now are actually stashing money right now. that they're actually putting billions aside, and you know, like people are speculating that they're putting money aside to make huge investments. They're actually putting money. They're actually saving money, or putting money aside for the impending doom of this economy, so they can come through like vultures and pick the carcasses of the American people. That seems more and more the case. I don't know, man. Do you think that either one of these candidates we have before us that are presented to us, do you think either one of these people can handle what's coming?
You already know the answer to that question.
Sorry, but no, I don't though. I don't. That's what I used to think too.
Not.
That's what
because it's in their best interest not to have the answer.
Yeah. And why is that in their best interest?
Because they finna make a ton of money, and the donors are gonna make a ton of money off of it. Why not? Every time we see, like I said, other than the Great Depression, every time you see a big crisis, since that point, is all a way to move wealth from the lower sectors, like the poor and the working class, and move those real assets, not money, real assets, like homes and cars and land, move them from our hands into their hands.
Mm-hmm.
It's the way the system works.
Yeah. Well, someone brought up a point in chat right now that I guess they're making a point that we weren't in a recession level before the pandemic, and that this recession is because of the pandemic. And I guess they're making the case for that this is just because of the pandemic, and once we got the vaccine by the end of October, that everything's going to go back to normal, because we weren't at a recession level before the pandemic, whereas in 2008 it was something sort of leading up to it before it crashed.
I disagree totally. I think we were already at this level. It was just basically we were held up by sticks and straws, and this virus just took the sticks and straw out from underneath us. Because if you're looking at it, and this is one of the great predictors for when you're gonna have a humongous economic crisis. Look at the wealth disparity. If you look during the 1920s, the late 1920s, the wealth disparity in the United States was humongous. And when money gets up, when all the money in the everything goes up to the top and there's nothing at the bottom, eventually the economy collapses. It's just like you expect your 5 or 6 year old to hold up a couple 300-pound guys. It doesn't work like that. So eventually the economy crashes because the little guy can't support the big guys that have been fat for so long. Our economy now, even before the pandemic, the wealth inequality was getting to those same levels back then. So at that point, we know the economy is going to crash. This just makes the crash happen faster.
Yeah, that's what I was reading too. I was reading that there was already a problem before the pandemic hit. We were already on our way to another crash, but this accelerated it, this whole pandemic. Are you one of those people who think that this pandemic is going to clear up after the elections?
I'm a healthcare worker. I know better than that.
Well, I was just curious because someone mentioned it in the chat. There's a lot of talk about that. There's a lot of talk, and even in some
because people fall in. Here's the thing: a lot of times people know that something's not right, but then they pinpoint the wrong thing that's not right. In fact, the establishment actually works to do that, and they make these perfectly plausible conspiracies that makes them not liable for what really happened.
Yeah.
So if you in some of these bigger conspiracy theory sites, you'll find out they have big funding from somebody that you don't know about, or you didn't know really what's helping fund them. Like look at the guy who funds the Proud Boys, McGinnis.
Yeah. What did McGinnis do?
No, I'm saying he's the guy who funds the Proud Boys.
Oh,
He created the
oh, oh.
Proud
I'm
Boys.
sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, okay, okay. I thought he did something specific, and okay, he did, but all
Oh,
right.
he helped create them.
He
So I'm
helped.
saying you have to look. You have to look at it. I hate to say it. I hate to sound like the Matrix all the time, but everything we see is a method of control. It sounds sucky. It sounds horrible, but it's just the truth.
No, you're absolutely right, because whether it's controlling the way we feel about ourselves and our body image, and or it control to where to eat for the evening, or who to vote for, or to stay subservient in other ways. Yeah, no, I buy that completely, and I don't think that's a conspiracy. I mean, that's pretty obvious. I mean, advertisement is a form of some kind of mind control, or at least suggestion. You know?
Absolutely.
Especially the way they do it now. My God, it's like they have all like the data mining. It's like now it's just like it's crazy.
Yeah, I know it's crazy. You know what's so interesting? Like like Google and a lot of these tech companies and Facebook, they provide a service that doesn't cost you anything. But some wise person said, if somebody ever gives you something and it doesn't cost you anything, it's because you are the product.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. You know, people were I've been talking about Wake the Beast, who is one of my he's someone I'm having on Sunday, who is a very interesting person, very interesting. He's a black dude who's a Trump supporter, who makes a very good case for Trump. And and even for me to say that feels stupid, right? Like, he's a black
Yeah,
dude
but
who's a
there's
Trump
no
supporter, because who gives a shit? But who does give a shit if he's a black dude who's a Trump supporter? There's people who do give a shit that he's a Trump supporter. I don't give a
hey,
shit. Go ahead.
no, because it makes them look more plausible. It's like, hey, look, even this black guy believes in Trump. It's like token black guy in anything.
Well,
I just hope nobody views me as the token black guy who likes MMT. But then again, I know black professors who are part of the community, so that makes me feel a little better.
well,
In fact, they actually done some very good work. Professors Sandy Darity and Derek Hamilton, they've actually done a lot of good work, and actually some of their books they've written are also on our RP bookshelf as well. But
go ahead. Well, I mean, it's just interesting that that it's almost wrong for black people to vote for Trump. And I guess that's where I'm getting at, is that not for me, not in my perspective. That's not how I feel. But there is this this notion, right, that if you're a black person who's voting for Trump, that you're sort of selling out. And I was doing that I'm Mexican, and I was talking shit to my Mexican friends. I was like, "You're a race traitor. Fuck you. How can you vote for somebody who's blatantly talking shit about our people?" And but I've changed my standings on that, because it's not. First of all, it's not my business, and first of all, who am I to?
Hey, you vote for who you want to vote for.
Exactly.
But I'm
please,
gonna educate you on this here.
Please do.
Between Biden and Trump, there is nothing worth voting for either one. I'm put like this here. If you take off I'll put like this here. If you took off Joe Biden's face and put it on Trump's body, and you took off Trump's face and put it on Biden's body, and put them and just switched around their positions, right? And made Trump the senator and made Joe Biden the rich guy who's two-handed with women.
Yeah.
Then you can pretty much say they were the same person. You wouldn't know the difference. The only difference is that Trump is not polite, Biden is. But at the end of the day, they both screw you.
Yeah, they're both pretty much. And another reason why I brought up Wake the Beast, not just because he's a black dude voting for Trump, but because he has such an odd perspective on power, and how he's just like, why is it surprising to people that that these men are trying to better themselves and better their friends and make as much money and create as much power for them and their friends, is like, why is that such a surprise for people when that's exactly what they do? I mean, that's what it's always been about. And maybe I'm getting that wrong. Maybe I'm getting that whole concept wrong. But
I
but
understand where you're coming from.
But
A
this
lot
is
of
from
people
him.
feel
This
that
is
way.
not me. This is not me.
I know, but I'm saying I understand where he's coming from, because a lot of people feel that way, and those are people that tend to generally care about only themselves and others in their particular circle, like their families, their friends, or whatever. They don't truly care about the society as a whole. They only care about what they can get, which is just like most of the rich people is. They have a term for those kind of people. They call them sociopaths and psychopaths.
Damn.
Real.
Sometimes I wonder with Wake. No, I love Wake. I'm not even shit talking, but he will say some real dark shit sometimes. He'll look you right in the camera and say some dark shit.
I've talked to Black Trump supporters before. I've seen Candace Owens going on crazy on different things. I know all the lines they're going to use, and I can almost quote them verbatim. They just don't work with me, because you cannot tell me that because the Democrats suck so bad, which they do.
Yeah.
That's a reason to support a Republican. Because at the end of the day, the Republicans suck so bad. Why should you vote Democrat? No. Why don't we figure this out? They both suck so bad, so let's figure out something else to do. Because at the beginning of the day, if you look at these donors and who they donate to, they donate to both Democrats and Republicans together.
Yeah.
They'll finance they'll finance people in the same race, and the same people can give them money. And it happens so many times. So it has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. I personally believe that we live in a one-party state. And you have a Democratic ring and a Republican ring. The Democratic wing isn't too Democratic, and the Republican wing doesn't care anything about a republic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, man. No, you're right. I absolutely agree with you. I believe that both of these parties, like, what's so weird is, for me, that I don't understand about this game. I don't get the game. Like, is it really about ideology? Really? Is it that keeps these two parties from being ineffective and just, fighting and at each other? So is it really ideology? What's creating this, or is there okay, please.
Let me go back to what you just said. That keeps the two parties fight amongst each others. They don't really fight.
Yeah.
If you go back and you can look at pictures and you see these people at parties together, they ha, laughing up. These people are truly enemies. They wouldn't be hanging out with each other on their own free time. They're not. It's just like you ever used to watch Wile E. Coyote cartoons?
Yes.
You ever remember it was him and that dog?
Yes.
And the Wile E. Coyote, they was good buddies, and then once they punched the clock, Wile E. Coyote would be trying to catch something, and the dog would be there beat them up.
Right.
And he'll be going back and forth.
Right.
But then as soon as 5 o'clock wins, he's like, woo! They go back, they punch out, and they good buddies again. It's just the game.
Meep. Yeah. I missed this before, but Hate the Human Race said jab for president 2024. I just it's almost like professional wrestling. I think this analogy gets
very scripted. Very scripted.
It's like the fact that it's like professional wrestling, and the fact that our president or the president is used to be a regular on WWE.
And in fact, he's in the WWE Hall of Fame. I know that. Hey, I watch wrestling enough in my life to know that. So
hey, I like wrestling too. I used to like wrestling a lot. I mean, back in the day when you can't tell me when Hulk Hogan switched over to NWO back in the WCW days. Now that wasn't like what, like, oh my god, like what the fuck,
hey, it was. When he did that, it was almost like when Clayton Bixby took off his mask and showed that he was a black guy.
and then look what happened. But then look what happened to Hulk Hogan at the end. I mean, in real life too. It just sort of talk about taking off the mask and the hood.
Yeah. So that basically what we have to look at. what the sad thing here in America is that it's not that the rich people took away all our power, or the wealthy, the whatever you want to call them, the elites or the 1%. It's that we fell for lies so long that we gave away all our power.
Yeah.
Lies like racism, like believing that you better than me because you have less melanin than I have.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
That's very dumb. It's a very
Come
dumb.
on. That's like believing a man is better than a woman because they got different sex organs than we have. No.
Right.
Or believing that America is better than other countries because we think we're better. Wrong.
Well, I mean, it's
Look
just
at the statistics.
exactly.
America rates like in the 30s, and a lot of the key statistics for the world, like all the other industrialized countries that done got free health care for all. They done charge for education. Like I actually heard like some people that went overseas, right? That let's say they went to UK, right, and they fell and broke their foot.
Mm-hmm.
The only bill they got was for parking.
Damn, man.
Or like you're in the military in Germany and you decide to go to a 4-year and get your 4-year degree. The only bill you get, nothing, basically. I'm saying these other countries have figured it out.
Right.
Now here's the excuse that they're gonna say. The excuse they're gonna say is, well, they could do that like that in their country because all of their country are like the same nationality or the same whatever. No, that's a cop out. We can do the same things here if we ever get our minds wrapped around the idea of we're not different. We are the same. We all have the same problems. There's something called, being that I'm in healthcare, there's something called Maslow's hierarchy of needs that they talk about. Like that, if you can't get by the lowest level needs, which is like food, shelter, safety, sex, those are the lowest level rung of needs. That as long as you can't achieve just those low level needs, you can't advance into the next level.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, they use that against us. Like, so they make it hard for us to have shelter. They make it hard for us to have food. They make it hard for us to feel safe. So we can never actually start thinking of the bigger ideals. Because once we get together and we think about the bigger ideals and advance past, as Freud would say, dealing with the stuff that the id deals with, right? Then we are a bit dangerous to them because now we have time to think. So that's why they keep us working jobs, running the rat race, so we never have time to think about how they're screwing us rurally.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, shit, man. You're talking about statistics and how, people want to ignore, like, for instance, statistics saying that America is number one when really, our...
What statistics is America number one in, other than most people in prison in the world? That's the only thing I know. America's the number one in right now.
Most cases of COVID. It's like we're the best.
Yeah, that too. Dang. I was hoping that was the only thing. I was hoping that the prison population was the only thing we was number one in. That would make me feel just a teensy bit better.
Number one in debt. Well, you hate the human race. You missed it. But we talked about debt and how MMT is sort of would eliminate.
Whoa! Let me stop on debt. I want to answer that one.
Please go ahead.
If you go look at the world, right, all around the world, not just kind of the United States, supposedly we in maybe $600 trillion in debt all around the world, right? Who do we owe that debt to? Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, Pluto,
I don't know.
Alpha Centauri. The Andromeda Galaxy? No, we owe it to each other, you dumbasses. Excuse me.
It's all good. It's all good.
Forgive me.
It's all good.
We owe it to each other. That just tells you there's no such thing as debt. Debt is just like money. It's just an ideal, a measuring tool. So that you in such amount of dollars of debt, that means that the measuring tool says that this amount of money you need to give back to this person. That's all it means. So the whole world can't be in debt at the same time. Somebody's on top. Somebody's in the black. Everybody can't be in the red, right?
Yeah. Well, that's go ahead, please.
So I'm saying that's why I made that sort of ridiculous statement, which is ridiculous. Who do we owe? if the $600 and something trillion in debt the whole world is into, who do we owe it to? We owe it to somebody outside of this world?
Well, like the thing is like I don't even know that much. I don't know enough about the economy to.
I know you don't, but just think of the idea. Basically, Earth is a closed system. We're not trading with no other worlds, right?
Right.
At least
Yeah, I get that.
So it's a closed system. So how? At the end of the day, and this is what a lot of the MMT economists talk about. They talk about the double-sided ledger of accounting, right? Like I don't know if you know anything about accounting at all, but basically it says this here: if you look at a ledger and one person has a liability, it's an asset to another person. Because think about it: if I give you $100, right?
Yeah.
Now you owe me $100, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm owning. You're in debt to me right then, right?
Right.
But if you satisfy the debt, the money only moved between me and you, right?
Right.
There was no new money created or destroyed, right?
Right.
But even so, that means that anything that happens is just going back and forth. So that you can look at. We often talk about in MMT. They talk about the sectors. They talk about the private sector, the public sector, and the foreign sector, right?
Okay.
And at the end of the day, all it has to add up to zero, right?
Okay.
So, like, the federal government is, let's say that the economy is in debt $400 billion to China, right?
Right.
So, if the United States government runs a balanced budget, that means that there's $400 billion that left the economy, right?
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Because China now has it. We don't have it anymore.
Right.
So that means that in order to keep the economy going at the same pace, as long as we're running a trade deficit, that the federal government has to run a deficit to make up for that. Otherwise, the private economy starts losing money, and you start to get, problems associated with that, like unemployment.
What is it? That makes the feds equal glorified accountants. Well, that's so what you're saying because
there you go.
There you
Hallelujah.
go. That's from Chris. That's from Chris.
They are. Yep, that's exactly right. Well, then again, she knows what I know, so that's how she knows.
but that's because you're talking about the Fed is a different entity than the United States government.
No, it's not really.
Okay.
The Fed is the United States Bank.
Right.
Same, plain and simple.
Right.
If you look at the Fed,
so is the Fed not a private corporation? Is that a lie?
Not really. What it is, and this is what they try to say: every bank that's a national bank has to purchase stock into the Federal Reserve, into a particular Federal Reserve, right? Bank, right?
Mm.
It's several of them around the nation, right?
Yeah.
But with that stock, it does nothing. They don't get to make those extra decisions because of how much they have in. They don't get to sell it or nothing like that. It's basically to say, hey, you got skin in the game.
Mm.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you look at that, all the decisions that are made, like the board of governors to the Federal Reserve are appointed by the president, right?
Okay.
And Congress can change the Federal Reserve's charter at any time, because Congress is the one who created it.
Right.
They passed the bill and created it, just like back in the day the Constitution made the Treasury, and the Fed and the Treasury work together very well.
So
I'm gonna give you. If everybody thinks the Federal Reserve is so powerful, I want you to grab. You have a dollar bill in your hand right now?
No.
Walking close to one.
I can be kind of. No.
Okay.
I can look at it
Put one up on the screen. Put a copy of a dollar bill on the screen, right? The front of it.
All right.
All right. Do you see the signature of anybody on the Federal Reserve on any bills? Just look at it.
Okay, I got $1. I got an actual dollar in my hand. Okay,
Now
so
highlight. Now look in your hand and look to see if you see a signature from the Federal Reserve on that dollar anywhere.
Stephen Mnuchin, right there. Stephen T. Mnuchin,
Oh yeah, and what is his position?
Secretary of Treasury.
And then you see another signature of the actual treasurer, right? You don't see no Federal Reserve signature on that bill.
Wait.
So that tells you-
But corporations are people. I thought that
So
was.
I'm just trying to show you who really has the power over the Fed.
I got you. So
The Fed is basically the Treasury's bottom chick, for a better way to say it.
Oh shit. All right. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate
Because
that.
even though in the back of it says Federal Reserve note, but nobody on the Federal Reserve gets to sign the note.
Well, it's I really like the idea that we could do this, and I really like the idea of because there's so many problems. I think in my personal opinion, that what I'm discerning here is that a lot of these problems, with race and inequality and stuff, stems from not having access to resources. Do you think that's correct? Am I correct on that? It's just not.
I have no arguments there. I don't argue them. Keep going.
And so that, so if we were just able to sort of fund these sort of projects, that we would start to have real equality if we were able to lift a certain sect of people out of the gutter, basically. I mean.
And it's not even the word we're looking for equality. At this point, we're looking for the word equity. Because equality, it means like somebody. I always think about this meme I seen. Like equality is like, let's say you have 3 kids, right?
Yeah.
And they're different heights, and they're at a baseball game, but none of them can see over the fence. I mean, they're not at the baseball game, but they're outside the stadium, and there's a fence that's blocking them from seeing what's happening. Equality is giving each person the same size box, right? So now the tallest person can see all over the fence to see the game. The next person, they can barely see anything in the game, and the shortest one, they can't see the game at all.
Yeah.
Equity would be like the tallest person, we give them a shorter box so they can still see over. The next person, we give them a slightly bigger box so they can see over. And then we give a really big box to the shortest person so they can see over. That's equity.
I see. And I mean, it's really, I mean, mind blowing to think that this could be something that we could eliminate. That this could be, I mean, and like the idea that people just don't want it. People in power don't want this to happen because of why? Because they want to maintain power. Correct? That's the assumption here.
Because they want it to be a zero-sum game. Because they know as long as it's a zero-sum game, they can make themselves winner and make everybody else losers. If everybody understood that it was not a zero-sum game, that we can all win, some might win a little more than others, but none of us will have to be in poverty, then they'll lose their power, because then we will stop listening to them.
Yeah.
And we'll start listening to each other. It's like, hey, instead of saying like, hey, you try to get more welfare, we'd be like, hey, I see you need help with something. So yeah, I'm gonna vote for this here to help you out, because I know when it helps you out, it's gonna help everybody else out around you.
Right. Well,
that's the thing.
Yeah, and like Kristen brought up socialism, because you're kind of talking, you're bordering the lines of socialism here, right? We're trying to spread it out, and please go ahead.
I tell people, it's not about whatever ism.
Yeah.
It's about what helps the people.
Right.
So if you think people being in poverty helps the rest of society, that you see people that you ride by every day, you see people living on the streets, do you think that helps out people to see people homeless? I don't think so. You tell me.
If you lift them out, someone will just fill the place. It's capitalism. It doesn't, but it is the way.
Well, I'm not talking about the isms. I'm talking about treating people right.
Yeah.
You can call it whatever you want to call it.
Well, the reason why I brought up socialism is because, there's such a bad look at socialism, right? In this,
but we have to understand what socialism means. Socialism, by definition, means control of the means of production by society. We're not even talking about socialism. We're really talking about more basically what you call quote unquote democratic socialism, where you have just so we have more socialization that we're looking to help out the bottom sectors. But what we're asking for is not for the people to have control over everything. We're just asking that we take care of the people. We have more compassion in our society. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Right.
Do you?
Oh no, not. I mean, definitely not. Definitely not. You know, it's the reason why I even went there is because people look at socialism in a negative lens, but you know, obviously we have the fire department, we have Social Security, and also we have socialism for the rich, for these companies who are.
Hey, hold on.
Please go ahead.
Hey, Martin Luther King had a quote about that. He said, "In America, we have socialism for the rich and rugged individualism for the poor."
Yes, exactly.
And that's exactly right. Because and this is what I'm going to give you an example of it. Let's take the pharmaceutical companies, right?
Okay.
They get socialism all the time. Not only the United States government, but state governments help fund universities. They help develop drugs, right? We don't get the profits back from it.
Right.
They get the pharmaceutical companies are getting the profits and spending it how they want to, or giving it to their CEOs or their stockholders, right?
Right.
But the second something goes wrong with this pharmaceutical company and they need help, we're there to help them out so that they don't go belly up. So we basically socializing the losses and we privatize the profits. And when you keep doing that, you'll notice that the bottom rung of any society keeps going lower and lower, and the riches keep getting richer and richer because everything they do, they can't ever lose. Because if we keep socializing their risk, they can do whatever they want to, and they always going to stay at least at the level they have. And anytime something good happens, they get to keep all that they get.
Yeah. I mean, it just more and more, it just always seems to be it's the haves and the have-nots. It just seems that
always has been.
And yeah, I mean, when you just boil it down to it, is there a time in history where something like MMT has been put in place where it actually worked? Is there anything that we can point to?
First off, we understand that MMT is not a regime that you put in place.
Right,
MMT
I understand.
Is just it's just currency analysis. It not only
Gotcha.
tells you what happens in a country like us that has a sovereign fiat currency. It also tells you what happens in a country that doesn't have the same amount of currency sovereignty.
Yeah.
And what they have to do to get there. In fact, there's a professor for Denison University who's a good friend of Real Progress. His name is Dr. Fadel Kaboub, right? And he talked, and we actually did a national outreach call where he talked for about 2 hours on what can be done to help out these smaller countries get monetary sovereignty. So even when in those cases, there's ways of doing things. So MMT just is.
Gotcha.
The policies we are talking about are based on understanding that the dangers that we think of quote unquote printing more money aren't what you think.
Okay, well, but then is there any cases in history that we can point to where just using MMT as analysis and using that as a way to dictate policy, has there been...
New Deal.
That's the New Deal? The New Deal? Like the...
Think about how much money was spent during the New Deal.
Okay.
Tons. Yeah. I can't even think about the number. And it didn't cause any inflation. And you know what happened though? As they got through it half the way, Congress started getting really like worried or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And eventually they cut down on some of it, and we end up going back into another recession during the Depression because they tried to cut down too fast. But then by the time that happened, we didn't go through it too long before World War II kicked up, and then wars are always the biggest show of MMT. Because once a war starts, nobody talks about it. In fact, nobody talks about how much money we need to spend here or there. But there's a lot of MMT things that happen. Check this out. during World War II, once everybody's employed, right? So then they start issuing out victory bonds.
Okay.
Those victory bonds weren't to get more money for the government to spend. No, the money was already created by the government. You know what the victory bonds were? They were ways to take money out of flows and put them into a stock so that the economy didn't overheat and have inflation.
Yeah. Well, there's there's several different ideas of how we sort of get out of this and sort of how we or I guess get out of this situation because of the oncoming technological what would you call it? The technology is going to take our jobs. I don't know how to say it, right? Like there's this how do you say automation? Yeah. Automation is coming.
Automation is going to take our jobs. You know how many times they said that in the history of man? They always say that.
Oh.
And it does take that particular job. Yes, it does. But every time it takes one job, a different job is created. So once we didn't need everybody to work farms, did all those people become unemployed and never got employed again? No. We started doing things more in cities. Or we started doing things like, okay, yeah, now we got a tractor that does the work of 15 horses and 10 men, right? And all one guy has to do is ride around the tractor. But then you need a tractor mechanic. Then you need people to make the tractors. So it always worked. It always something changes. And there's always some job that's created. So let's say we didn't have to build anything, right? Then we can all our jobs will be taking care of each other. Spending more time with each other, But you can't automate most things in healthcare. You can't automate because just the way healthcare works.
But they will be able to.
I don't think a machine I don't think they can program compassion into a machine yet.
No, but they will be able to create a machine that will be so precise in surgical cutting and stuff that it would be almost insane not to have it.
But here's the thing about the human body and everything related to humans. No one thing is alike.
Right.
Everything's different. You open up a person, somebody's heart can be here in one spot, another place can be there, or their vesicles can be this way. They can be sometimes people's heart on the right side of their chest. It's all kind of stuff that happens when you're dealing with human beings.
Yeah.
There's so
chaos,
many variables.
random, variables.
Yes, there's so many variables that you can never recreate the power of the human brain. The human brain is the best computer ever created.
I mean, I think we can say that, but I think we are actively working towards that goal. Yeah, I mean, we can keep saying that we'll never be able. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so let's say even if automation happened completely, right? Do we want the automation to happen on a system where whoever controls the means of production gets all the profit? Then in that case we'll all become techno serfs. Or do we want it on a system where we take care of each other? Which in that case, we all end up taking care of each other and we can live a life of leisure and luxury, relatively speaking.
Well, do you think...
that's just looking at the system. Like I said, we can go on any system of things, but it all matters how we treat the next person in that system. Because we can have the greatest system in the world of things with the perfect automation, but if we treat each other like crap, then the people at the top are going to have all the benefits, and the people on the bottom ain't going to reap any benefits.
Yeah, and I see that argument of automation.
Like we can go back. The reason why I use the word techno serf is because let's go back to feudalism, because that's the same thing that happened back then. The nobles controlled all the property, up to the point that anybody that was working on their property was basically their property as well. And the serfs, only thing they could do is grow stuff for the nobles, and they had a little plot of land that they could have for themselves and barely eke out a meager existence.
Right.
That's the same thing that's going to happen under quote-unquote automation if we ever get to that point of automation, but we don't change how we think about each other.
Right. So that's I guess that's the thing is, how do you get everyone to sort of get on the same page when there's so much to disagree about?
Finding common ground. We all have a lot of common ground. If you cut us, we bleed red blood.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, that's still true now. Why can't we just see it now?
Human nature. I'm just gonna try to tell you, human nature wants us to be stratified so we can look at. We say this. Human nature wants us to be able to say we up here and somebody else is down here.
Yeah, hierarchy.
That's the part of human nature we need to kick, the hierarchy, and that's what Steve was talking about, the gap earlier.
So, do you think hierarchy is not necessary for humans?
Huh?
Do you think the idea of hierarchies is not necessary part of being human?
It doesn't have to be.
So, I mean, in my mind, when you're saying that hierarchy doesn't have to be about doesn't have to be about being a part of human, it just is sort of saying like we don't need to be ruled, we don't need to have laws, because we should be able to sort of do this on our own accord, right? Like we have our own. Do you see what I'm saying? Or did I lose the audience? I think I lost. Are you there? Oh no. This is just our this has just been our whole thing. Educate people so we can all make better decisions as a collective. Pick your community, real freedom. Yeah, I like that. And I like that jobs guarantee thing. I really like the idea of job guarantee. I really like the idea.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can. I
just I get whenever it acts up like that, I just hop out of the voice call and come back in, and it comes back in. So.
Perfect. Well, I'm glad we figured out that fix. I totally forgot what I even asked you before we lost you. So, oh well. Unless you remember. But
it was like, I guess it was about human nature, something along the lines of human nature. About
I mean,
why can't we get together?
Yeah, I mean, why can't we do it now? I mean, we're seeing the bigger picture. It's just, I want to believe that. I want to believe that we have good in us and that we can see past these differences and find a common ground to reach these new levels of existence for humanity. But it's like, I don't know if it's possible to take, hate out of the human heart. You know what I mean? Like, not even hate, just that
selfishness,
that darkness that exists.
But now you're talking more about on more of a religious point of view. That's a whole nother topic.
I mean, maybe. I mean, you don't have to be religious.
Religious spiritual view.
Well, you don't have to be religious to be a good person, but I mean, you do have to have some kind of moral ground.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of moral high ground that guides you. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, here in America, the rich don't have that. That's why I said they're most rich people, to be a billionaire, you basically have to be a sociopath.
Yeah.
Because you have to become a billionaire, you have to find some way to extract the labor of another person to a point that you can make that much money. Because think about, and this is why I say, think about this here. Let's say if you made $100, it was a way, basically like this here. Let's say you made $1 million a year, right? Mm-hmm. And every year you got $1 million in, you didn't spend a dime of it, right? How many years would it take you to become a billionaire?
10? I don't know. Wait,
1,000.
1,000 years.
It'll take you 1,000 years of making $1 million a year to become a billionaire. So that lets you know now that to make that much money, becoming a billionaire in 4, 5, 6 years, that you really have to extract a lot of labor from a lot of people to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean a whole lot.
Yeah, totally, man. It's. I mean, like it to me, it feels like that idea of altruism, and I don't want to say it's an impossible feat, and I don't want to be that defeatist kind of mentality, because we have, as a people, as a human race, overcome some incredible feats. But it's like, how do you make that happen without some horrible large, like, catastrophic event, or without like how do you show people how to find a common ground, especially now when we're in this most divided the most divided times of our lives, like how do you show people the common ground?
Well, here at Real Progressives, we have a line. It's called "Each One Teach One." So that's what we do. We try to teach one person about how the system works and how we can change the system. Once we understand that, you have to. It goes back to what I was talking about with Maslow, right? Once we can get rid of our basic needs, then we can understand the things higher. So if we can create an economy that eliminates poverty as we know it, and gives people a chance to really think and ponder and understand stuff, then perhaps we can get to a level where we don't see the divisions and we can become more together. Because we've came together before in tragedies. We've seen how we came together in wars. We've seen how the people of New York came together after 9/11. So it's possible.
Yeah, but that's
we
a catastrophic
do it without a tragedy.
Yeah, exactly. How do you do it without a tragedy? How do you do it without?
Here's my answer. My answer to that would be we have tragedies every day. Why don't we just do it?
Yeah. Well, and I think Kristen made a good point. It's like end the myths. I mean, if you took the lies out of it, because right now the way I see it is that the media, our leaders, every fucking people, protesters, fucking everybody, white supremacy, everyone has a fucking line for everyone has a line and a lie for everything, right? Like everyone's talking shit, everyone's making shit up, every side has will exacerbate a situation to make it fit their narrative. If everyone is yelling and screaming and lying, how do you know where to stand? How do you? I mean, if who's right if everyone's wrong, basically? Like how do I just go ahead.
Taking the Real Progressive, that's what we're trying to do. We want to be true north, where once we understand what the truth is, that we can act on it. And I look at it from a Real Progressive point. I also look at it from being personally, being a Christian myself. That I believe that people have good in them, that they can do the good things, but it's understanding that none of us is better than the other. Right. And that we all have fallen short some way or another, and we all need help. From the richest person to the person living out of a cardboard box. Yeah. Once we understand that we're all in this together, that the human race is not just 7 trillion people, but one organism all across the world, that when one person hurts, we all hurt. Then we're in a position to make some real change.
Yeah. That's great, man. I think that's a great way to end this. That's a great way to end this. Everyone, Jeb, thank you so much for stepping in for Steve. Steve did end up getting back to me. He said that his power died and everything went down.
Oh, Lord.
So he got back to me. I told him he could jump on, but the wife got home, and so that was the end of that. So Steve will not be joining us again. But Jeb, thank you so much for jumping in and sort of rescuing our discussion, because I would have just played my melodica and signed off, but I was able to we were able to talk about a lot of cool shit, man, a lot of cool stuff, and I really do appreciate it. And besides Real Progressives, is there anything else you want to plug?
No, not really. That's what I'm gonna plug.
RealProgressives.org.
You can catch it on Facebook. At Real Progressives, look at realprogressives.org. And if you add a slash behind it and go into the podcast, then you'll see Macro and Cheese.
Macro and Cheese.
We also have on our website, right in the menu, it's right next to the home button, it says Modern Monetary Theory. If you click on that, you can learn a lot more about what we've been talking about. And it has articles, we have videos, and we have podcasts all in there in order to help teach you about the truth about macroeconomics. So And I just thank you for giving us this platform, my friend.
Oh, no problem. Honestly, I want Steve to come back on, and I feel like that there needs to be a part 2 to this. I appreciate you jumping on, but I have way more to go, and I just this is a two-parter. So, Rafi, hey, what's up, buddy? Thanks for coming in, Mighty. Thanks so much for those bits. Jab, I'm gonna let you go, man. Thank you again. I sincerely do appreciate you coming on and schooling us about some things and some stuff. And I have much more to think about now. And yeah, thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure.
All right, Jab, I appreciate it. Have a good day. And everyone give Jab a round of applause. Thank you, Jab. Twitch is cooking cool. Yeah, I agree. Twitch is definitely cool. All right, guys, you know what time it is. And even if you don't know what time it is, you know what time it is. Definitely go and check out our guest at realprogressives.org. I put the link in there, but I'll drop it one more time. Here, we'll drop the link one more time for y'all so you can